Did you know that nearly 60% of parents report dealing with defiant behavior from their kids at some point? And what's even more surprising is that this defiance often stems from the way we parent. Yes, the very methods we use to guide our children can sometimes backfire, making our kids act out more. Think about it. Have you ever felt frustrated by your child's resistance to follow simple rules? You're not alone. This kind of behavior can feel like a constant battle, but the real question is, why is it happening? In this video, we're diving into the root causes of defiance and exploring how your parenting style might be unintentionally fueling it. We'll unpack some shocking truths about why kids push boundaries and share proven strategies to change course. From understanding how your actions shape their responses to learning ways to foster cooperation, you'll walk away with practical tips to turn things around. Stay with us, because by the end of this, you'll have a better understanding of how to transform those challenging moments into opportunities for growth, for both you and your child. Chapter 1. The Defiant Puzzle. Is it your parenting or their personality? When a child starts showing signs of defiance, the first question parents ask is this my parenting style, or is it just who they are? It's a tricky balance to figure out. Research suggests that 50% of a child's temperament is inherited. Some kids are naturally more stubborn or independent. That doesn't mean your parenting is off, but it's important to know the difference. Temperament is more than just personality. It's how children respond to the world around them. For example, highly sensitive children may react more intensely to rules and boundaries. This doesn't mean they are defiant, they just process things differently. In fact, studies show that temperamental traits like high emotional sensitivity can make it harder for children to regulate their reactions to authority. But personality is just part of the story. Parenting style has a big impact. Kids who are raised in an overly controlling environment may feel like they have no say, which can lead to defiance. One study found that children with authoritarian parents, those who demand high compliance with little room for discussion, were more likely to rebel later. They just need to feel their voices matter. A key strategy here is self-reflection. Ask yourself, do I expect too much from my child based on their developmental stage? A 4-year-old is not going to have the same reasoning abilities as a 10-year-old. Adjust your expectations accordingly. The more realistic your expectations, the less likely you'll see defiance as a problem. Parents often confuse defiance with the need for independence. For example, a child who questions rules may not be disrespecting you, they're learning how to assert themselves. Encouraging this natural development can reduce the chances of outright defiance in the future. Instead of shutting down their curiosity, nurture it. In some ways, children's defiance is simply a sign of development. In their teenage years, this behavior is tied to the need for autonomy. Did you know that teens' brains are wired to seek independence from their parents? Research from the University of California found that this is a critical stage for developing personal identity, which often leads to pushing boundaries. Here's a great piece of advice from psychologist Dr. Laura Markham. Children don't resist authority, they resist feeling powerless. This sums up a lot about defiance. If kids feel heard and respected, they're less likely to push back just for the sake of it. Chapter 2. The Overpowering Parent. Are you unintentionally fueling rebellion? Sometimes, the reason for a child's defiance lies in how we parent. If you tend to over-control or micromanage your child, they might rebel just to regain some control over their own lives. This happens more often than you think. According to a study by the American Psychological Association, children raised in highly controlling households are more likely to exhibit defiant behaviors in school and at home. Over-controlling parents can lead to children who are compliant but resentful, meaning they follow rules outwardly but feel deep frustration inside. The trick is to guide without overwhelming. This means giving kids choices, even small ones, like letting them pick their clothes or decide on a snack. Giving your child some power over their decisions helps them feel valued and respected. Dr. Daniel Siegel, author of The Whole Brain Child, suggests, connect before you correct. Before jumping into correcting your child's behavior, take a moment to connect emotionally. This can be something as simple as eye contact or a calm, gentle voice. When kids feel emotionally connected to you, they're less likely to act out. Research shows that children who have a say in family decisions are less likely to challenge authority. One study found that children in democratic households, where their opinions are considered, were more cooperative and less likely to throw tantrums. It's a balance of being a guide without being a dictator. But how do you know if you're over-controlling? If you catch yourself saying things like, "Just do what I say," or "You have no choice," you might be pushing too hard. Instead, try phrasing your requests in a way that gives your child some agency, like, "Here's the situation. How do you think we can handle it?" This opens the door to a collaborative approach instead of a battle. You also want to be mindful of your tone. Children are highly sensitive to the way we communicate with them. A stern or harsh tone can escalate defiance, while a calm and patient voice can help resolve conflicts faster. This is why some parents see a shift in behavior after they change their tone. Creating an environment where children are encouraged to make decisions is key. Whether it's picking out toys or helping with meal planning, these moments teach kids how to make responsible choices and reduce unnecessary rebellion. Chapter 3. The Invisible Influence. How subtle parenting habits shape defiance. Sometimes, it's not what we say, but how we say it, that shapes our child's behavior. Small habits, like inconsistent discipline or nonverbal cues, play a huge role in whether a child becomes defiant. For instance, if your child sees that you don't follow through with consequences, they'll start testing limits. Research from the University of Minnesota found that consistency in discipline leads to more cooperative behavior in children. Inconsistent parenting creates confusion. A child might not understand why one day a rule is enforced, and the next day it's ignored. To avoid this, make sure both parents, if applicable, are on the same page when it comes to rules and consequences. You don't have to be perfect, but consistency in your approach will significantly reduce defiant behavior. Another invisible influence is body language. Kids are keen observers, and they can pick up on the smallest signals. If you're constantly crossing your arms or rolling your eyes when they speak, they might perceive you as distant or annoyed. This can cause them to act out for attention. Keeping your body language open and engaged is a simple but powerful shift in how your child responds. Tone and facial expressions also make a big difference. When you speak to your child, make sure your tone matches the message. If you say something calmly, but your face shows frustration, it can confuse the child. A consistent tone and expression help convey clarity and reduce resistance. One study found that children are more likely to comply with requests when they feel emotionally attuned to their parents. This means that your emotional state is just as important as your words. Parents who show empathy, rather than frustration, foster cooperation, and can prevent defiance from taking root. Small parenting tweaks can lead to big changes. For example, switching from a "no, you can't do that" to "how about we try this instead" can shift the dynamic. The key here is offering alternatives. When children see there are options, they feel more in control and less likely to lash out in defiance. It's also important to model the behavior you want to see. If you want your child to respect rules, you need to model respect in your daily life. Kids learn best by example. When they see you respecting boundaries, they're more likely to do the same. Don't forget to subscribe for more practical parenting tips and strategies to raise happy, cooperative kids. Chapter 4. Permission to push back. Is your parenting style allowing healthy boundaries? Creating healthy boundaries is essential in guiding children through life. Without limits, children often feel lost and unprepared to deal with the world's expectations. Interestingly, research shows that children with clear, consistent boundaries are more secure, perform better academically, and are less likely to engage in risky behaviors. According to Dr. John Rosemond, author of Parenting by the Book, children crave limits because it gives them a sense of security. Too much leniency, on the other hand, can cause frustration. When children are allowed to make all the decisions without any boundaries, they don't learn responsibility or self-control. They might act out because they're looking for guidance. Experts say it's vital to teach children how to respect limits, even when they don't understand them. This helps them build emotional resilience. One way to establish healthy boundaries is by using clear, simple language. If you say, "You need to clean your room now," be firm, but not harsh. Follow through on your expectations with consistency. If children know you mean what you say, they're more likely to comply, reducing the chance of defiant behavior. A study published in the Journal of Family Psychology supports this. Children whose parents set and maintained boundaries were less likely to show signs of defiance. A unique strategy is to use positive reinforcement when kids respect boundaries. Rewards, like a fun outing or a small treat, for following through on rules can motivate them to continue doing so. Positive reinforcement is a proven technique that works far better than punishment, which can often escalate defiance. It's also crucial to involve children in the process. For example, instead of simply saying, "No screen time," explain why the rule is in place. "We need to take a break from screens to help your brain recharge." When kids understand the reasons behind rules, they're less likely to challenge them. Dr. Laura Markham, a parenting expert, emphasizes that respecting boundaries doesn't mean being rigid or harsh. It's about being consistent while showing empathy and understanding. With this approach, children will learn to respect both rules and the emotions behind them, building trust between you and them. Establishing healthy boundaries is not about being a strict authoritarian but about providing structure. When boundaries are clear and fair, they prevent defiance while helping children grow into responsible individuals. Chapter 5. Defiance as Communication. Are you listening closely? Defiance isn't always about rebellion. Often, it's a child's way of saying something isn't right, either emotionally or physically. Children can't always express themselves with words, so they act out to get your attention. According to Dr. Dan Siegel, author of The Whole Brain Child, defiance is often a sign that children's brains are overwhelmed by emotions and that they need support to process those feelings. One important strategy is to view defiance as a form of communication, not disrespect. Instead of immediately reacting with frustration or anger, take a moment to pause and reflect on what your child might be feeling. Are they tired, frustrated, or overwhelmed? Understanding the underlying emotion can lead to a more compassionate response. For example, when a child refuses to follow a simple rule, don't jump straight into punishment. Try saying, "It seems like something is bothering you. Can we talk about it?" By validating their feelings, you open the door to a calm conversation. Children are more likely to cooperate when they feel understood. Research shows that children who have open emotional communication with their parents are less likely to display defiant behaviors. A study published in Developmental Psychology found that emotional connection, rather than control, is one of the strongest predictors of cooperative behavior in children. Another key strategy is to model emotional regulation yourself. Children learn from what they see. If you lose your temper when they act out, they learn to respond the same way when they're upset. But if you show calmness and problem-solving skills, they'll learn how to manage their own emotions more effectively. When a child expresses defiance, give them space to vent. This can help them process their feelings before they feel ready to follow the rules. Sometimes, simply offering a listening ear can prevent a full-blown power struggle. Remember, emotional validation doesn't mean giving in to every request. It's about acknowledging feelings while maintaining structure and rules. Over time, children learn that it's safe to express themselves, and they begin to trust you as someone who can guide them through difficult emotions. Chapter 6. Breaking the Cycle. Effective parenting techniques that reduce defiance. Breaking the cycle of defiant behavior requires a mix of patience, consistency, and new strategies that focus on connection and understanding. If you feel stuck, remember that the way you respond today can shape your child's behavior tomorrow. Here are a few techniques to help turn defiance into cooperation. The first step is to create a routine. Children thrive on predictability. When they know what to expect, they feel more secure and less likely to act out. A consistent daily routine gives them structure, which helps prevent defiance from becoming a pattern. According to child psychologist Dr. Stanley Turecki, children with structured routines are less anxious and more cooperative. Another helpful technique is the use of natural consequences. Rather than imposing punishment, allow the child to experience the natural outcomes of their behavior. For instance, if a child refuses to wear a jacket on a cold day, let them feel cold, while keeping them safe. This teaches them that their choices have real consequences without you having to intervene forcefully. Positive reinforcement, when used correctly, can be extremely effective. Instead of focusing on what your child is doing wrong, catch them doing something right. Praise their efforts and good behavior immediately. Studies show that positive reinforcement is far more effective than punishment in reducing defiant behavior. It boosts a child's self-esteem and encourages more positive actions. One surprising but effective strategy is to practice active listening. This involves repeating back what your child says to ensure they feel heard. For example, if they say, "I don't want to go to bed," you could respond, "I understand you don't want to go to bed right now." This simple act can diffuse tension and help your child feel more understood, reducing defiance. Finally, flexibility is important. While rules are essential, children sometimes need room to bend within those boundaries. Allowing for a bit of flexibility helps children feel empowered and respected. This doesn't mean abandoning rules, but rather finding ways to be more creative with how they're implemented. The key to breaking the cycle is to stay calm, consistent, and engaged. When children feel supported and loved, they are far less likely to resort to defiant behavior. In the words of parenting expert Dr. John Gottman, when parents stay connected to their children emotionally, the child is less likely to act out in defiance. By focusing on connection, clear boundaries, positive reinforcement, and emotional support, you'll create an environment where defiance is minimized. If you found these tips helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more parenting advice that will help you raise a happier, healthier child.